Let's go live.
Okay.
Let's see if it connects. Okay. Apparently, we are now live. I think it is. We are live. It's hey, we're live. So welcome to the ADK's live stream. It's our fourth or fifth. I've lost track now. I'm not even going to start counting
Number
anymore.
five, I'm inclined to say.
We've actually done pretty well. We are actually staying on top of it, which is pretty good to do. Right, what we got to talk about in this week's live stream? We've obviously got updates from the channel. Not much to do because there's only so many times I can repeat stuff that we've already covered. So I don't really want to talk too much about the same things we've already did. Last week we talked about obviously ways of supporting, but I guess the biggest thing we've done is obviously we did our first set of new format videos on Sunday. I didn't realize after it was only when we started editing them that I was like, how the fuck have we talked for 30 minutes about one bloody song? It's like,
I'm on a mark.
oh, it's like, my God, these videos are so bloody long. They're like 10 minutes before we even get to a clip. It's like, Jesus Christ. But it was good. It was good fun. So anyone that hasn't seen the new format of Monomath is already live. We'll drop another one tomorrow at some point. But please do give us feedback. We do like getting that feedback. The only thing we won't do is we are not going to go back to the point of us just playing the video and sitting there looking at it and then commenting at the end because we just don't get that level of detail. And then we're not also going to sit there and do our research and do loads of like watching it all beforehand and then pretending on camera to watch it. We're not doing that. No. We'll do one of the other sort of things. But yeah, we're gonna keep to it. But we do like the feedback, so please do send that. And then really, I've been on a ton of Zoom calls this week with new radio hosts.
Good.
So we've got several new radio hosts for the launch in January, and we've got a whole load of new other radio hosts that are in the works. People that I've got to catch up with next week and the week after. So the ones that we do, I can talk about. So we've got UK Thrasher's radio show, which will be doing underground death and thrash metal, specifically UK based. And they do like they're a promoter from a bit further up north, do like UK Thrasher shows and stuff like that, and put bands in like Birmingham and that area.
That's not the north. Can I just point out, as a northerner, we don't consider Birmingham the north.
North from where we are.
I know, exactly. Well, it's because
Hell,
you're so
not like if
fucking
you're
ignorant to
London, and what
southerners.
if you're London? It's Watford's north, isn't
I
it?
know, but I just thought I'd point that out.
But yeah, further north from where we are.
The phrase is Watford Gap, which I've only recently found out is actual services on the M1.
It is, yes.
Not the town of Watford in North London or South Hertfordshire, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
the Watford Gap,
even
yeah.
further
Watford
north
Gap.
of the town of Watford, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, we've got UK Thrashers. We're going to have Phil's Mosh Pit, Unsigned Bands, and Metal Classics. And I love it because it's Phil, like his name Phil, but his promotion company is called Fill the Room. I thought that's a great promotion. That's a great promotion. Clever bit of marketing there. We've got Harry from Hammerdown Management, who's managed a few of the bands that we've had on our shows. He's going to be doing an hour. And then we've got a few others that are kind of in the process of trying to work out if it can be done. Alan from Before the Sirens has just got to work it out. We're looking to have the 6 Bar to have their own radio show as well
Good
on the channel. So that'll be really good. So
what
Josh
about Rage from Kane? Is it worth approaching him?
Not right now, it's not. But maybe in the future, if that's something he'd be interested to do. But I think at the moment, with everything he's got going on in his life, it's definitely not something he can do. There are several other people in a similar boat, but hopefully, we've got a couple of American guys that have reached out, want to put on an American show on the chat on the plan. And our idea is hopefully to have 20 separate radio shows by January. That's my plan, and then by the end of next year, it would be 120 separate shows. Is the plan? I love Andy's face.
Think big, yeah.
Well, the thing is 120 shows would get us shows most hours of the day, 7 days a week, without having to repeat the shows. So that's the plan, and to have it as a big kind of cohesive metal rather than a radio station that plays country and western on certain hours and easy listening and has a random metal show. It's metal all the time, but just different people doing different things. And so, yeah, really looking forward to that. But at the moment, I'm just catching up with all these guys on Zoom, going through the processes and what software they're going to use and etc. So the only thing I didn't realize when I thought my my radio package that I bought had covered me for commercial license, which it didn't. after I emailed them. So I had to buy a commercial radio license for our size channel, which wasn't too bad. So all in at the moment, I'm about 500 quid into this radio station. So we're going to make it work. We're going to put more effort into the radio station than YouTube at this rate, I think. Quite have to. We've got all that going on, and obviously still pushing down the other areas like video concepts, video formats, etc. So yeah, that's all going on, and we've got our live events coming up on the 5th of December, which is now a free band event with Dreadbeggar, Black Skull Ritual, and Of Concrete Gods, and still our classic metalcore night, which is going to be our Christmas do out on the 19th of December at the 66 bar. So yeah, that's basically what we've got. Now, talking about latest news, there have been a few actually interesting stories this week.
Dave, before we move on from
our
ADK news, I don't know if you're aware, but I've seen the January and February shows posted on Facebook. The ADK shows at the 66
Yes.
bar. Do you want to tell everybody about those?
So the good thing news is we've actually got all 11, the 12th show is our Christmas show next year, but we've got 11 of the other shows are all now confirmed, pretty much. The only reason they're not on the event pages yet is we're waiting for logos and everything else to come out. But our January show, so January the 30th at the 66 bar, we've got, this is where my memory comes in, Lilith's Army, Invicta, and I can't remember the other two off the top of my head. Shit.
Shall I Google it?
Heroin are headlining, and Heartstrong are doing, I think, main support on that one. Or it's Invicta. Yeah, Heartstrong's main support on that one. And then for the 27th of February, we've got Scarlet Envy headlining with Lucid High, who are also going to be playing at Club 85 on the Cage Fight show coming up shortly. We also have on that one Chaos Disciple. Chaos Theory. I can't remember. Chaos Discipline. It's chaos something. It's just pure chaos right now. In my head, it's pure chaos. It's on the event page. And who else was on that bill? Lucid High. Oh, and Devil Husk, which is Joe Lydon from who's playing Spectral Darkwave, and those got him. He's vocals on that particular project. So it's a new project from him, 4-piece. Should be really interesting to see them coming down. And then after that, I think the March show will be going up soon. I can't remember who's on the March show right now, but I will have that updated as soon as I get all the information in from the bands. And that's the main thing, is chasing bands for logos at the moment, just so I can get the flyers up, and then really it's all the rest of the packages. I think next time when I do start posting for bands to send in their details, I'm going to actually put attached logo into the contact form. Then at least I've got the logo ready. So as soon as they confirm, I can actually just go ahead, like attach bio, attach logo, got it. And then I don't have to even chase them. As soon as they confirm, I've got all that info ready to go. But yeah, more shows coming. And there might be a few more that we might do, because we've got Kariga possibly coming over in July with Lowdown on tour. So we might be hosting one of those at the 66 bar on the Wednesday, the 16th of July, I think. So all in the air at the moment on that one, but wait and see. News.
Dave, we got a little. Can we just one more announcement? Next week's guest on the live stream. So we've got James Monteith from Tesseract and Cage Fight joining us. He is actually going to be at the 25th anniversary Rock Sound Awards or get together. So he's going to join us from his phone. And Cage Fight, as we know, are playing this fundraising gig at Club 85 in Hitch in Hertfordshire on Friday the 29th. And we're asking people in the Hearts metal scene, Hertfordshire, Bedfordshire, Cambridgeshire, send your questions through to me, kirkhorton11@gmail.com, and we'll put them to James.
And send dick pics to him as well.
Cage Fight. It's what, man?
Send dick pics to you as well.
Don't do that. Definitely do not do that. So that's next Wednesday, the 27th of November. James Monteith of the Mighty Tesseract and Cage Fight will be joining us, and we'll grill him. We'll ask him some questions about mainly Tesseract if it comes to me. But Andy and I both love Cage Fight as well, don't we? So yeah, that's the news for next week. So make sure you join next week for our first ever guest on a live stream.
And if you can't get there for the live one, at least watch it on the catch up, which is what seems to be what most people seem to do. But yeah, always good to see. Right, let's take it one at a time for news. Andy, you didn't have much that you picked out, unless you've picked out something already. Anything you want to throw in, or we'll start talking through?
No, I've got no news. I've just got a couple of albums to talk about when we get to those. But no, I couldn't see any noteworthy news that I wanted to interested me at all. Right.
Kirk, you take the first one. Pick which one you've got. I've got four in front of me, so I'll let you pick one.
I'll do local first. So Cambridge death metal band Celestial Sanctuary have announced they've signed to Metal Blade Records. Their 2021 album Soul Diminished and their 2023 album Insatiable first.
Are they local then, are they?
So that again? Yeah, Cambridge. We're talking about Cambridge, England. Yeah.
They haven't played Cambridge.
So that again?
I said I've not heard of them, so they couldn't have played Cambridge or Hitchin very recently.
Yeah, well, for a start, that 2021 album, it ended up being picked up by Church Road Records, so they were signed quite early on, and straight on to the bigger circuit rather than just the grassroots. So dream come true for most metal bands, I think, to sign to Brian Slagle's label. Obviously, him and Laws were friends. He formed Metal Blade. He put out the first Slayer and Voivod album, etc. So big player in thrash metal and death metal because he signed Cannibal Corpse. So it's good to see a local band signed to them. Well deserved. And those first two albums are exceptions to the rule that death metal has become boring. It certainly hasn't. Okay. And Andy, you'll probably recognize Celestial Sanctuary. Isn't that a bolt thrower song? That's where they take the name from.
Yeah, can't think what album it's on, but yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds familiar.
So that's the good news in the scene here. And then just a reminder, Earthbound, Hertfordshire, Cambridgeshire band, their album Kronos, melodic death metal band, comes out on the 26th. So that's next Tuesday. It's not actually out this Friday. So in terms of the local music scene,
I thought albums almost always dropped on a Friday.
I know. I don't. Yeah, that's it.
Why has it? Is that just something they've chosen to do? Is drop it? Because otherwise, really, record labels always like, or with PR companies like, no, you need to drop it on a Friday because that's when all the presses get ramped up for.
A significant date for the band, do you think?
Could be.
What's next Tuesday?
Just the 26th of November, from what I know.
Yeah, this Kronos is related to the word time, isn't it? So maybe maybe something to do.
Reason. Or maybe they just didn't want their album dropping the same time as everyone else's. So at least you might listen to it that way. If you've got a load of albums dropping, it's a way of trying to break the trend, I guess.
Yeah, it's good that we're finally getting an album.
Cool. Okay, first bit of news from me. So OTEP is announcing impending retirement. So OTEP, it's kind of an interesting. So OTEP refers to the singer OTEP, as well as you've referenced the band, but it's her. And so she's revealed in a recent statement that she is intending to retire and that she's actually seeking interest to sell off all of her musical equipment. But what's weird is she hasn't mentioned why. So there's obviously something going on there because, I mean, OTEP, when people talk about like their big songs, it's all the stuff from like their first album. It's all bad already. And maybe something off the second, like Confrontation or something like that. But really, any of the albums they've done in later times haven't really delivered like the same intensity that they got in like 2001 when they were getting onto things like Ozfest and stuff like that. But she's an incredibly politically driven character. And I don't know if she's just had enough of things or if she's just what's going on there. But I just think it's quite interesting after all this time that she's now made a decision to retire.
We've covered the band on the channel, Dave, haven't we? I think
we have. We did. I think we did.
Is this the artist who also dabbled in other genres, sort of dance and hip hop, or is that somebody else?
No, that's Terry B.
Oh, right.
That was Terry B. But yeah, similar kind. So she raps and she's aggressive, but she's got a real guttural voice on her and never quite apart. I think what they tried to do in that first album, they tried to make her look all pretty and stuff with her blonde hair and stuff. And they were trying to always make her into like crop tops on stage and stuff. But she was always more of a kind of tomboy. She's into her weightlifting and stuff like that. And then she just kind of cut all her hair really short and spikes. And she was like, fuck you kind of mentality towards like that sort of thing. And I don't know if that hurt her career or not, but she's very an individual. She's been massively politically outspoken. But yeah, it'll be interesting to find out exactly what it is. But she's actually like she's listing all of her musical equipment and like stuff that's been used to record on albums. And putting that up for sale. So bit of an odd one to get rid of all your gear, unless there's a reason behind it.
Did you notice how she used the word liquidate as well to describe the sale of her music equipment? It's quite a
Yeah,
hard word, that, isn't it? I'm liquidating my equipment.
yeah, maybe it's financially just too difficult nowadays with everything, but I don't know. Kirk, over to you again. What else you got for us to talk about?
Yeah, three big names have announced albums coming out in the first quarter of 2025. So Architects, new album, The Sky, the Earth, and All Between is due for release on the 28th of February
When was
2000.
their last album?
Came out last year. I've reviewed the last two. I wasn't a fan
Hang on,
of
so their last album came out last year.
No, sorry, 2022, I think it was.
Okay,
It was more of an
3 years.
industrial
That's
metal
fair enough.
album.
I was gonna say if it'd been like 12 months, they're bringing a new album, I'll be like, that's not fucking news, then, is it? They're just knocking them out like freaking brats.
Yeah, I mean, for an arena band, it's quite impressive how productive they are, but I wouldn't say the quality is great, to be honest. And
Okay.
also, Josh Middleton has now left, the guitarist from Silosis. He joined them, didn't he, in
Yeah.
2000, and was it 17? Might have been earlier. He's left to concentrate on Silosis.
Makes sense.
The other one is Killswitch Engage, have a new album coming out called This Consequence.
That's good.
It's 6 years, and that's set for release on the 21st of February. And Jesse Leach, he's on vocals for that.
Oh yeah, he's been on vocals for a long time, so he's been on the
Yeah,
last
he was on that last album.
But is Howard joining them for anything on this one? Because I know he did
No
on the
news
last
on
album.
that. Yeah, he didn't say, because they're quite friendly, aren't they, Howard and Jesse
Yeah.
Leach? There's no
He still joins them on stage every so often to do the song "The Signal Fire," which we covered on the channel.
Yeah.
So because he obviously sang on the last album that one song, so I think everyone's been asking like, would there be any Howard joining them for any songs or anything? Because I think that's what people want. They actually want Howard and Jesse to go out as Killswitch Engage and take it in turns and sing their songs from their albums and then do some duetting type things, because they think that if they can all get on well, they're both phenomenal vocalists who've just got both different ranges, so it'd actually make a lot of sense. But I don't think Howard wants to kind of do that. He's put that side of his life to bed now, I guess.
Yeah, it's long awaited album, that. And then the third one,
Okay.
Spirit Box, finally announced the follow-up to 2022's The Eternal Blue. It comes out in March next year, and it's going to be called Tsunami Sea. And guess what? They're doing a tour. They're playing one day in the UK with Periphery supporting, and it's sold out, so I can't get a ticket for it. And I'll get your drink. Spirit Box and Periphery on the same fucking bill in London, and I can't go to it.
So, you never know. We might get an interview invite for that one. So if you do, I'll let you go and do that.
I'm trying to get Courtney LaPlante, because I was a patron through that Patreon scheme online of Spirit Box a few years ago. So hopefully I might be able to get an interview with her. But yeah, that they're also, I've noticed, I think they've jumped on that tour with Linkin Park, which is the tour everyone wants to get on, obviously, if you want to make some money. And it's such a coveted prize spot, that, isn't it? Supporting them. They're definitely supporting them on some of the North American dates I've seen as well.
Okay. I'll throw my next one in there. So do you remember the band Snot?
Yes, the singer died in a car crash in, was it 97 or 98?
Yeah, Lynn Strait. So Lynn Strait was a hugely, I wouldn't say hugely influential in the sense of he wasn't like the most amazing singer in the world, but there was something about the band. They hit at the right time, and I think because of his death and when he did pass, there was a lot of people who have referenced this band, like Fred Durst, etc. Was massively.
Max Cavalera was a big fan, wasn't it?
Max Cavalera. So there's a huge amount of peak bands, but however, they've just said that they are going to be doing a reunion in 2025. Now they have done some little reunion shows previously, but not with the original full lineup. Obviously, they can't get the full lineup with Lynn back, but they had different guitarists and stuff like that. And they had like Tommy Vext from Bad Wolves had done vocals before. Now, at this point in time, they have not announced who the singer is going to be for this reunion, but they have got the rest of the band back together for it. So it's important for those that are a really big part of that scene. This is going to be a huge reunion. For me, it's not really something I'm going to be that bothered about because I was never a huge Snot person, I guess. I think it was because it's a stupid fucking band name. Snot just makes me go, oh, so you're a punk band then?
Yeah.
I think they did have punk rock roots, didn't they? Were they like a cross between nu metal and punk?
So it's almost like then they had a bit of hardcore in there as well. But I mean, it's just it is. It's like you're basically like a Sex Pistols Ramonesy kind of thing then.
No, no, it was more hardcore, wasn't
Yeah,
it? Like,
but
so
it's not a great name for a band if you're going to try and get out there. It's a very childish name, so it's not really going to make me connect with them, which is why I never got them at the time. But important for those that are interested in the reunion. So yeah, 2025 is going to be a reunion from them. Kirk, what else you got? Andy's just sitting there going, "Oh, for fuck's sake, when am I going to have something to talk about?"
Well, who's Tommy Vex and who are Bad Wolves? That's all I'm thinking at the moment.
The only way you might know that would be the zombie cover Cranberries one that came out a few years back. That actually had the singer from the Cranberries on it, but then she passed away just before it actually came out. You're like, yeah, oh yeah.
Great song.
Not to be confused with Bad Omens, Andy.
Oh, okay.
Bad Wolves, bad Omens, Bad Wolves, but Bad Religion. What else
move on, people. Let's keep going. Go on then. What else you got, Kirk?
I think it's the one that we've seen today.
Okay,
Life of Agony. Do you want me to introduce the story?
So you bring the story up, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, sure. So
I'm joining this one.
Yeah, so this is one that came out in the last, I think it was last 24 hours. So Mina Caputo.
It was this morning about 5 a.m. this morning. I was watching the live announcement.
Oh, is that when it came out?
On Facebook, because I was just scrolling. I was probably actually about 4:30. I was on Facebook with my coffee, scrolling through, and straight away that just came up, and I'm like, "Oh, what's this about?" And started watching the video, and I'm like, okay." Although in the video, I would say Mina does still look a little bit tripped out, like a bit chill. Maybe had a bit of herb, you know. I don't think a bit about that video was a bit like, okay.
So the story that's come out is that they're detransitioning back to being Keith Caputo, and in a statement they've said, "I've cured my gender dysphoria. It took many years, a lot of walking through fire, but I rose above my misunderstandings of my soul and my spirit. I just wanted to share with you guys that I'm off hormone therapy. 6-7 years when a place where there's no more pain was made with Life of Agony. That was in 2016, and I've been existing in a different version of myself and a more healed version of myself." So the detransitioning back to being a man. And
now do we call her Mina now or Keith? Because if you
no, it'll just be Keith. I think it'll be either they, them, won't it, for the pronouns. But I guess
because at the moment, because if she's because we're saying she because she's listed as Mina, but in what basically he has now said in this comment is, my dysphoria is gone, and I'm just going to have the operation to remove my fake breasts in January.
Yeah, they're going to be called Keith again.
But I'm like, well, can't we just call you Keith now then? Because you've obviously that's how you now identify. You've just got to have the operation bit. But so it's been really weird because when I was writing this up, I'm like, so do we keep calling him Mina? Because he's already said that he's got rid of his body dysphoria.
No, transgender dysphoria, it's called.
Dysphoria, sorry, there you go. So if he's got over that and he now identifies himself as a male, we should now be calling him Keith again, because he's saying that he's going to call himself Keith in January when he has his breasts off. Can we just call him? I'm like, I don't know what to call him at the moment. I'm just like,
Andy, did you see the story before we did this stream? Did you see it as well?
Only in the last hour or so. Probably just before you mentioned it in our chat that was going to be your news. I mean, I haven't followed Life of Agony for a long time. When did River Runs Red come out? Late 90s. Absolutely brilliant album. Absolutely love that. Wasn't too keen on the two follow-ups, which I've got as well, but I haven't really followed the band since. They are doing a tour with Biohazard next year, aren't they? That'd be good. I think.
Yeah, it's a joint headline. I imagine that is it.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting story. I mean, you know, there's struggles for everybody involved, you know, mainly the person involved, but you know, their friends and family have got a lot to deal with as well in stories like this. But yeah, wish them well. Hope they made the right decision and are happy.
I think what might be controversial here, first of all, people are going to turn this into a political debate, aren't they? Because I think when you look in this country and even in America, you know, something like gay conversion therapy is banned, isn't it? It's seen as a hate crime. And they've used the word heal to talk about gender dysphoria as if it is an illness and that you can be healed from it. I think that might rub some people up the wrong way. The idea that you can detransition, it seems like there's no going back almost when you make that life-changing decision. So don't be surprised if people start using this in the culture war, you know, on either side, which is sad, really, isn't it?
Well, this is the thing, because obviously he had the fake breasts that he had, but obviously hadn't transitioned any further, which means that at least he can do this one operation and go back to his body. But the whole thing about this body dysphoria, he was basically saying that he's had this for like 40 odd years. So he's never been comfortable. Basically, he's never been comfortable in the body that he's in, and felt that he needed to make changes and became meaner because that's what he wanted. He felt he was going to be comfortable. But he was going through, he did, was it 3 years of therapy before he even started doing hormones?
Which is quite normal.
He said what he's saying in his rest of his statement is he's saying that nowadays that therapy is not there anymore. And it's much easier now with younger kids that are going through this, that want to identify now as a woman, can get onto that hormone therapy without having to go through that therapy, or hormone treatments without going through the therapy. And that's what he's got a real concern about and what he's trying to talk about is that for people that are wanting to transition, it's now almost too easy to get started on the treatments and things that are not going to be reversible without having that going through the mental treatments. And he said that going through hormone treatments had so many horrific side effects for him. And that's why he's been off them. And he's gone through different types of treatments, whether it's like plant-based treatments and stuff like that. He's going to raise up on another point. So I think it's really interesting from that. But I don't think, it's what's weird is probably when, I don't know when it was when Keith transitioned to become meaner. That was quite a big story at the time.
Definitely. Yeah.
Because that you hadn't seen that in the rock and metal world of someone go through that. But now him transitioning back is probably not as big a story as when he transitioned over, because we're so used now to the conversation about transitioning. And I think the pronouns of they, them, and people not even identifying as male or female, they now want to identify as something else because they don't identify as either.
For example, yeah,
pansexual and stuff like that. We've now become desensitized to the issue. But I think he does raise this point about people, just because someone wants and says they identify when they're younger as they are a male, but now they want to identify as a female. What sort of therapy and support is there to ensure that is the right call? Because also once you go down that route and you do have the full sex change operations and everything like that, detransitioning back is a lot harder.
Yeah, it's a political issue over here, isn't it? Do you remember in Holyrood in Scotland, they tried to put a vote through there to make it easier to self-identify in a new sex, didn't they? Which somehow, I can't remember constitutionally how Westminster was able to overrule it. So you're seeing on the side of people who are very aggressively pushing transgender rights, you do see that, don't you know? Like, let's make it easy to self-identify. They shouldn't have to go through this humiliating therapy for, like you said, for 3 years. And then on the other side, it's like, can we put a break on this? So I think Keith's definitely going to come back into that conversation. It doesn't really come up much in rock and metal, does it? You know, famously, we are a scene that's often apolitical, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but there's nothing wrong with having this conversation. But there will be some point scoring, I guarantee you, on this. You know, someone who was formerly an icon, who was what would you say? You know, pushing through glass. No, that's not the saying. Pushing through closed doors or breaking through
glass ceilings.
Yeah, whatever the cliche is. So in 2016, Mina, that was very brave as well. And to detransition might disappoint some people, but we don't know the reasons other than that. And I'm sure there will be follow-up interviews that people will want more candor, won't they? They'll want to understand why you detransitioning back to being a man, and are you going to be they, them, he, him? How do you want people to tell you?
It's going to be an interesting one to keep a track on and see what happens. But yeah, okay. What else we got on the list? I don't really have anything else. I don't think. Have you got anything else, Kirk?
No, that old tech one was going to be mine as well. Yeah. So I think, yeah, I mean,
Oh no, I had one other thing, which is I just found funny, is that the founder of Download, Andy Copin, is having to respond to criticism about Sleep Token being put as one of the 2025 headliners.
go on, what did he say then? What, I mean,
Oh, he's just going into the fact that all these other bands that are now genuine headliners, like Avenged Sevenfold, would have all had that same criticism when they were first put into headline slots. But you only put them in. You're putting these bands in there because they have the capability to do it, and they've done their dues in that sense. But a lot of people, like Download's one of the biggest rock and metal festivals out there, has Sleep Token paid its dues and done the work like all these other bands have. And I think, to be honest, they put on a great show. They do so much work in what they've done. Yes, they've had a meteoric rise in the last 4 years to go from local venue but clubs almost to playing like selling out Wembley Arena type thing. So I think, to be honest, if you look at the rest of the bands on the bill, they're probably one of the few bands that could actually put on an atmospheric show at Download. So they can only go there and fuck it up, can't they? Really,
let's feel that to Andy. Andy, that, you know what, the criticism, a band should serve its dues. What are we saying? They must have 10, 20 years experience under that. What's your view on that? Because if you're phenomenally commercially successful, you've only done 2 albums, should you be headlining a festival?
I don't think it's got anything to do with anybody other than the people putting on the show. If the guy from Download feels that Sleep Token are worthy of a headline slot on the main stage on one of the days, then that's the gamble, I suppose, that he's going to take. But I don't think it is going to be a gamble, because I'm sure, you know, as you said, Dave, the meteoric rise of this band speaks for itself, really. I mean, I've got no experience of it other than you do see them everywhere on the socials, TikTok. I mean, there's absolutely obsessive fans. So I'm sure the fans in the band, people who follow Sleep Token, will be absolutely thrilled. But so, as you know, to answer your question, Kirk, no, you don't have to have 10, 15 years of meteoric rise and success to warrant a headline slot. It's down to whoever's putting on the event to sort of take that chance.
Yeah, Dave, do you remember we were talking about this in the 90s? This was common. Smashing Pumpkins headline Reading 95. They only had Gish and Siamese Dream out, and they were on the verge of releasing Melancholy Infinite Sadness. Nirvana headline Reading 92 when Nevermind exploded. This was, yeah, you'd see this all the time. You know, a band that have only, it was harder to survive the music industry then, wasn't it? Because major labels were dropping so many artists if they didn't get a platinum record. So those that did make it, you know, you were rewarded. I'm not saying that's cause and effect, but it's only really it's only in the 2000s onwards where in certainly rock and metal, it seems to be, oh, you need to have 20 to 30 years experience under your belt. I mean, take a band like Bring Me the Horizon. People are still saying, oh, it's good to see a new band headlining all these major festivals. They've been around since fucking 2005.
Yeah, the only negative aspect about all this is, Sleep Token will headline next year, and I'm sure they'll do really well. If they don't headline a similar size festival in 2026, it's almost like you've hit your peak too early and you're on the downward spiral.
The thing is,
whereas if you gradually work your way through, you know, your career and albums and festivals and whatever and tours, and then you get rewarded with a headline slot, then you think, yes, we've made it. Nothing else matters now. Do you know what I mean? We've made it. We've done it. But Sleep Token is the only way is down now, isn't it? Really,
it's that issue for like sort of, if you look at bands like, where is it? Machine Head are on Download, aren't they?
Yeah.
And they're like down the bill somewhere or over here somewhere, but they've been out there. They've done all these shows. Now, if you were to go, they'll headline Bloodstock. But the question would then be, could Machine Head put on a show that's worthy to headline Download? Hell yeah, of course they could.
Yeah.
Easy. But they've not been given that opportunity. Ginger could headline Download easy. Amount of metalheads that know that band.
Yeah.
Killswitch Engage could easily do it, but they won't get that. It's not got that commercial drive to have them headline those. I think Sleep Token will then, the next one will be something like Wacken and get a headline there.
Yeah, do you know, they're selling well in Germany as well. Andy's right, they're everywhere. I was on my YouTube feed and it was like Sleep Token in Nuremberg, you know, the show they put on. There's a big budget behind it as well. It's impressive. But yeah, I don't think there's any issue with that. I think Andy raises a good point. It's like, do you know, when you look back in the 90s, bands that have been on the cover of magazines who like 3 years later just disappeared. But I'll give you an example. Do you remember in the early 2000s, Q magazine was a big selling magazine, wasn't it? Do you remember a band called Gay Dad?
No.
That's my point. They actually made the cover of Q magazine. Within 2 years, everyone had forgotten about them. So that's a bit like what you were saying, Andy, where a band early on hit the heights. So this could happen to Sleep Talk, and I doubt it will. Imagine in 10 years if we're saying, fucking hell, do you remember Sleep Talk? And they even want headline download.
I can do even better in the 90s. Do you remember in Kerrang magazine, there was a big push for a young band called Symposium?
Yes, I do. London band.
London band Symposium, and they were like the next big thing. They were even on like the Kerrang CD. They were doing like the telephone answer clips at the beginning of it, going, "Hey, we're Symposium, blah blah blah," and they were getting hyped, and then literally just gone, disappeared. Like that was it. They went out of favor.
Yeah, because they even supported Metallica and Chili Peppers, didn't they? And bands like that. Yeah.
Massive push and then just dropped off. But anyway, right, we should get to the last bit of this live stream, which is obviously to talk about new album releases this week. We're back to slim pickings. Actually, there was quite a lot this week, but do you know one thing I noticed in this week's listing was the amount of reissues or re-releases that were listed, which I think is just fucking atrocious. I don't like that. I really don't like reissues and re-releases because I'm like, stop it. Just write some new music. I don't want you. I've got the original album, or I probably haven't, to be quite honest with you. So I'm fairly certain. Wasn't Judas Priest one this week a reissue?
Yeah.
And is that on your list?
It is, yeah.
Okay, yeah. There's about 20 death metal albums come out, so just find 3 of them.
Go on, Andy. Andy, give us what's yours on your list.
I can't see the point of just picking, they sound like death metal. I'll see what this is like, and telling the viewers about
that. I'll give you a tip, mate. Take the name.
No integrity.
Encyclopedia Metallum.
I can't relate to it. I can't say, I'm looking forward to this because I'm not, because I've never heard of them. But I've picked two albums from bands I do know.
Go for it.
Quite like, and as you said, Dave, one of them is a reissue, and it's Judas Priest debut, Rock-A-Roller, the 50th anniversary remaster re-release, which is coming out this Friday.
Right.
It's not one I've heard before because I said it's their very first album. But what I found out was quite interesting. The band sort of used a situation I've heard before where they've taken advantage of overnight or late night recording time, studio time, to get it a little bit cheaper. A new band, as I'm sure even Judas Priest were back in those days. So they've taken advantage of that, but they weren't involved in the mixing process. And the first time they actually heard the album was when they were sent, a full production vinyl album, upon release. So that's the first time they actually heard it. And they weren't particularly happy with it, but what can you do at that point? So they've actually, somebody or involved in the band has found the original multi-track tapes. So it's got the old remaster treatment. So that'll be released out this Friday. Now, I can't see the point of this unless you're an absolute Judas Priest completist, because it's a million miles away from, the likes of Painkiller and last year's Invincible Shield album. Because I haven't heard it before, but I did give it a quick listen this afternoon. First 3 tracks anyway. And it's blues rock, to be honest.
Progressive blues, isn't it? The hippies play progressive blues.
Yeah, where are the tracks? I mean, the opener One for the Road is I don't think the guitar's even got the overdrive on it. It just sounds almost like a clean electric guitar. Bluesy rock. Rock-A-Roller is a bit sort of early Bon Scott era AC/DC, that kind of vibe. And Winter's got a little bit of Black Sabbath influence on it as well. But that's all I listen to. So I personally won't be listening to the original or the re-release. But I really do like Judas Priest. But what they're doing today and what they were doing even 20 years ago is a million miles away from that. But this is one for the absolute diehard fans. Shall I go on to the other one, Dave?
Yeah, go for it.
Opeth are releasing their 14th album as well. It's called Last Will and Testament. On a label I've never heard of. It's not even sort of known sort of underground label. I'll have to check that out. But it's a concept album set just after the First World War, sort of like a family story. So that in itself is quite impressive, in as much as you can release an 8-track album with a theme and a story run all the way through it from start to finish It features Ian Anderson from Jethro Tull, who does some spoken word pieces and some flute, and vocals from Joey Tempest of Europe. Now, the song titles itself, Kirk, you might know if I describe it. Tracks 1 to 7 are called 1 to 7, but prefixed with a symbol which is like two S's vertically joined. Do you know what that is? What that means?
No, I'm looking at it now. I can't. I don't know the name for it.
Yeah, very strange.
Very strange.
The eighth track is called A Story Never Told. So that'll be interesting. I think a feature of this that's been sort of documented is Michael Ackerfeld. Is that how you pronounce it? Is returning back to sort of the growled vocals as well. But Opeth are a band I've got 1 or 2 albums of. They went a bit prog for me. I still like Still Life whenever that came out. Heard Face of Melinda on a sampler CD, which is how I'll get into many bands. The album that's got, is it Grand Conjuration? That's a great track as well. But Opeth aren't one of the bands I follow, but that was an interesting one that was out this week that I thought I'd tell everybody about.
Okay. Just a reference to that SS thing is basically what's called a section sign. It's a typographical character for referencing individual numbered sections of a document.
Oh, okay.
So
that might relate to the sort of the last will and testament, because the family story involves the father of the family dying and his will being passed on, I think. So that might be sort of a legal term.
It's also used in the sections of legal code as well.
There we go. That answers that one.
There you go. Just to help you out there.
So when everyone's going to refer to them as track 1 to 7, then the story never told at the end. So
exactly. Okay, Kirk, what you got, mate?
Oh, sorry. I'm just going to pick up Andy. That label they're on, Opeth, the Rain in Phoenix Music. It's a spin-off of a Nuclear Blast spin-off called Atomic Fire Records. So it still comes under that overall Nuclear Blast umbrella. Right. It's relatively new. I've only seen it in the last 18 months on certain bands. We got some big names on it, like Amorphous. Yeah, for me this week, I've got 3. First one, a band that I've interviewed on this channel, or a musician called Jonah Nido from Switzerland. His main band, Coil Guns, noise rock mathcore band, have got their long-awaited album coming out called Odd Love. It's the 4th full-length album since 2019. And I interviewed Jonah on this channel as part of a project he was in called Trounce, an extreme metal project that was commissioned to perform at Roadburn Festival in 2023. The second one, new signings to Century Media, an Icelandic prog metal band called Mur, M-U-R, self-titled album. It's only recently been announced that they've signed as well. So they've not rushed the album out, but clearly I think they've recorded it and paid for it themselves, and Century Media are happy to put the name behind it. Debut album, and big influences are, you ready for it? Meshuggah, Gojira, Cult of Luna, my type of music. And then Dave, something to piss you off, another band that uses the Cyrillic alphabet, the V instead of the U, you know, like black metal bands. They're called Ruckus, with the V instead of the U in that word, from New Zealand.
So they're Ruckus.
Yeah, the album's called Antithesis of Prosperity, and they're a death metal grindcore band released on the record label Grindhead Records.
Dyslexic as well, apparently.
Yeah, Grindhead Records, and it's their debut album. So that's the third one for me, Ruckus from New Zealand. Over to you.
I've just got one this week. So the other one that's actually mildly piqued my interest is Marilyn Manson and One Assassination Under God, Chapter 1. Mainly because I hadn't really thought about Marilyn Manson in a very long time, as far as like relevance to music. And it's very odd to think of it that way, because I guess Marilyn Manson has been, if you go back to late 90s, when you had 94 Portrait of an American Family, and of course Antichrist Superstar, which came out in 1996 with Beautiful People, which literally was everywhere, and it still is. If you put that on in a metal club, people go nuts to it. Everyone knows Beautiful People. And then of course his big album as well, which was Mechanical Animals, where he basically was like, there was this whole question: is he male? Is he female? We have no idea, because he was wearing like these latex body stocking thing. He was always out there. He was always really crazy. And then suddenly, just at the turn of the century of 2000s, when nu metal died, even though Marilyn Manson was never nu metal, he was industrial. It was almost like he got cancelled. And then there's been a whole load of controversy around Marilyn Manson anyway in his personal life, which has kind of almost cancelled him out in a lot of ways. But the guy's put out in total 12 albums. And I'm sitting there going, bloody hell, I didn't even know he was still putting albums out. I just thought he occasionally turned up for a few gigs every so often. I thought he was living his life in the background. But I think I'd covered one song off of this album in like a singles review. And actually it sounded just like stuff off of like Antichrist Superstar. I think it was also one I did. I did Raise the Red Flag. But it was almost like he was trying to be shocking, like he did like 25 years ago. And I'm looking at it going, there's been so many more shocking things since you, that you trying to be a little bit twisted and creepy to the camera. I'm like, yeah, we've had Saw movies since this. So since you were like freaky, we're all used to Hostel and Saw now. So whatever you put out is never going to really freak us out anymore. But yeah, the fact it's chapter 1, it could be an interesting one to check out. Am I looking for anything new? Not really. Actually, I'm just looking for a classic Marilyn Manson sound, to be quite honest. I quite like that old school industrial vibe that he was doing.
A.D.K.
Yeah, well, you had that with the Nine Inch Nails in Flex and Rammstein. So I'm like, do you know what? Cool, because he had Rammstein support him to do a cover of Beautiful People before as well. So he's done that. So there's a nice bit of industrial crossover. So yeah, I think that's what I'm going to be checking out this week. Apart from that, yeah, nothing else in that list of our slim pickings this week. But yeah, there we go. Right, that's us done for yet again another week. Thank you very much for those that have joined us this week, and those that are watching on catch up. Try to be on time every Wednesday, 7 p.m. And we will see you on another video. Check out our normal videos, but check us on the live stream next Wednesday at 7. Take care.
That's a wrap.